She don't know the shit that I be on. At the text, waiting for the response. Maybe I should've had a magic horn. Maybe I should've ate it like Captain Crunch. Y'all know, treat it like my daily lunch. Oh no, I had a hunch that you were no good for me. Drained in all of my energy. Wanna tear me down after I plant the seed. Started acting funny, had to recede. What's going on, y'all? I'm Kintz. This is Kintz TV. We're in the building with Hurricane Cam, aka Rap Star. We're about to get a hip-hop history lesson. Let's dive right into it. What are we going to be talking about, Cam?
Oh man, we're gonna be talking about, the origins of hip hop. We're gonna be talking about, where it came from,
Okay.
who started it, where it started, the who, what's, when, whys, and how's of hip hop,
I'm sure
say what
everybody
you're
wants to
saying.
know this. They never just thought about it like, gee, I wonder like how hip-hop started. Why am I doing hip-hop? Like, what's the origins behind this? Well, we're going to discuss that during this episode here and get you guys all caught up on what's going on with hip hop and all that good stuff. So, Cam, why don't we just dive right into it? Just go ahead and start.
All right. Well, hip hop is a culture. It evolved into what we call, hip hop. It's a huge, huge culture. It
For sure.
always hasn't been like that. Hip hop has only been around actually for like 47 years. That is how old hip hop is.
47 years. You got to mark down to the exact time frame hip hop has been around. Okay, I like that. I like that. You know your shit.
Yeah. Hip hop is an actual blend of many different, genres. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? It first
Okay.
got its roots in Jamaican dancehall music. You could find remnants of hip hop in doo-wop. You could find remnants of hip hop in jazz. You could find remnants of hip hop in R&B, rhythm and blues. I mean the old rhythm and blues, even back in,
Old school.
old music. Even you could find remnants of hip hop back in, slavery time with the Negro spirituals and everything. You could even find traces of hip hop in ancient civilization in civilizations like the Aztecs, the African,
Really?
nations. You
The
could find
Aztecs. They had
the
hip hop back
Aztecs,
then.
yeah, they have forms of, hip hop, the indigenous
Forms of hip hop.
nations, of the black and brown
Like it's
people.
like hip hop, but like with their own cultural twist to it.
Well, it's I'm gonna get into that real quick. But first
Okay.
off, let's say, okay, hip hop started in the mid to late 90s. Some even say it even started, in the early 70s, but it came,
Okay.
right off the ashes of the Black Power movement. If anybody knows, the Black Power
Okay.
movement was a movement where black people in the United States started to have more pride within themselves. The Black Power movement was, a movement where black people can combat racism within America, fight back,
Okay.
not only, physically, but financially and economically. They believed in, black is beautiful. This is where the Black Panthers come in. The Black Panthers was an organization created, with the founders of Huey P. Newton. You know what I'm saying? You got leaders like Angela Davis. You know what I'm saying? You got leaders out here who was collectively a black unit who protected the black community from outside sources like the police, racist police, and racist white people who would come into the black neighborhoods and go kidnap a black person and lynch him on a tree. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yeah.
So the Black Panthers were a political group that was the protection for the black people. You have offshoots of that where you have the
Okay.
young lords.
So that's where the superhero Black Panther came from. It like stemmed from that name.
Yeah, well, it didn't stem from it. Like that's the name of it that it got it from. But of
I
course,
feel like that's where they got the idea for it though.
they got the
The
idea.
superhero
But
Black Panther.
even to take it a step further, actually, if you want to look at the X-Men, Stan Lee actually said that the characters of Professor X and Magneto is modern. It's modeled after Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. To where Martin Luther
Okay.
King, his
Okay.
ideology was for peace between humans and mutants, to where Magneto's ideology was we need to think about ourselves. So this is the origins is where it's coming from. And hip hop started in New York City, in the Bronx, South Bronx. You had three nationalities of people who actually started hip hop, and that is Black Americans, the quote unquote African Americans, Jamaican Americans, and yes, Puerto Ricans. Those are the three major groups who actually founded what we call hip hop today.
Really,
And
three major
yes,
groups are the ones that they just came together and they just collaborated on the name, the style of how it's gonna go.
well, it's more than a collaboration. It's a culture, it's a culture thing. If anybody knows, I tell everybody, I say there's no difference between a Black American, a Jamaican, a Cuban, a Dominican, and a Puerto Rican. The only difference is where the slave ship stopped at. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So if you are Black in America, that means the people who colonized your people came from England. If you over in Jamaica, the people who colonized your people, who brought them to Africa, and even in Jamaica, all in the Caribbean, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Dominican Republic, all of them have the same ancestry. All of them have the Taino Native Americans. The Tainos are the Native Americans from the Caribbean and parts of Florida. You also have, of course, African. Those are the African slaves that the Spanish, the Dutch, the Portuguese, the French, and the Italians kidnapped from Africa, and they brought them to the world that that they know in of that. And of course, they're also bred with the colonizers. So when you have like somebody like who's Puerto Rican, they're mixed with three ancestry: African, Taino, Native American, and the colonizer, the Spaniards. So it's not that they collaborated. All of these people lived in the same neighborhood. If anybody knows New
Okay.
York City, you can have blacks, you can have Puerto Ricans, you can have Italians, you can have Jews, you can have Arabs, you can have Japanese, you can have Chinese. These are all people who actually grew up in the same neighborhood. Not only
Okay.
grew up in the same neighborhood, but grew up in the same apartment buildings, went to the same schools. You know what I'm saying? So when you
Mhm.
have a group of kids out there, vibing with each other, playing with each other, and everything like that, stuff is going to get invented. People's going to say, you know what, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. They all get together and they just start vibing. So when you got
Okay.
a bunch of people who have the same ethnicity, really, and they're vibing and they make music, their music is really not that much different from each other. You know what I'm saying?
Makes
Why do you
sense.
think when you
Makes
look at
sense.
old school Chicano movies. Chicanos are, Mexican American. When you look at movies like Blood In, Blood Out, or you look at the Chicano culture, and they have the oldies but goodies and everything like that, a lot of them is playing doo-wop. A lot of them is playing, old school black music. You know what I'm saying? So if they didn't feel
Okay.
it, if it wouldn't be them, if they couldn't feel it. You know what I'm saying? So all of these kids,
Yeah.
Jamaicans, Puerto Ricans, and African Americans, these are the three major groups that started hip hop. you know, uh, the
Three
person
major
who
groups.
actually
Okay.
started, the person who actually is the founder of hip hop, his name is DJ Kool Herc. He is the founder of hip hop. That's a
DJ
key
Cole
person.
Hart.
DJ Kool Herc. That's DJ K
Okay.
with the letter K.
Okay.
Cool with the letter K.
Yeah.
OOL. Kool Herc. HERC. DJ Kool Herc. I need y'all to underline that, because if
Interesting.
if you don't know anything about hip hop, take it that this man is the founder of hip hop. And any hip hop here will tell you. You
So
know what
he
I'm saying?
started it. He started it before everybody even knew what hip hop was.
Every rapper today should pay homage to him. Every rapper today, they need to have taxes. They need to give taxes to him, because he's the one that wouldn't be none of us if it wasn't for him. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So when you had this, you had hip hop that came out in the 70s, which it came from, it arrived straight from the disco era. The disco era was just over. So they were trying to figure out what's the next thing to come along and everything like that. So hip hop started, you
So
got
it was like
people
at
who
the end
got
of the disco era when hip hop was discovered.
right,
So they were all looking for the next big thing, and that's what inspired hip hop to be created.
yeah, like it's crazy because nobody really expected hip hop to actually blow up like that. You talking about
Hmm.
kids from New York City that's just doing what they doing. They
Hmm.
break dancing. Which There's 5 elements of hip hop. There's
Okay.
MCing. A lot of
MC,
people.
so master of ceremony.
MCs. That's the lyrical aspect of hip hop. You know, that's where the rapper is. Rap is not hip hop. Rap is a finger of what you call hip hop, which is a hand. Think of hip hop as a hand, and there's
Okay.
5 fingers. So you
Okay.
got MCing. That's the lyrical aspect, the spoken word part.
Okay.
And we know DJing. DJ is another aspect. DJ was actually more popular back then than the rapper. The DJs was the one that got the party going. If you listen to early,
True.
you know, music, they always give shout outs to the DJ because the DJ was the one that got the party going.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
were like the brains of the operation.
Of course. So you got MC and you got DJ. You also got graffiti artists. Shout out to the graffiti artists.
I haven't heard of that one.
Yes, graffiti artists is all through that. You know, if you ever been to New York City and you see taggers and everything, you see all of that, that is a big part of hip hop, is the art aspect, the visual. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Okay, and then we got B-boy. B-boys are the break dancers. You know, Puerto Ricans were a lot big on this, you know, in the early stages of hip hop. There was a lot of Puerto Rican.
So would you say they
B-boys.
started the break dancing thing? Puerto Ricans themselves?
Yeah, there, you know, there's dance moves and everything. And then you got people who put their own originality to it and they come up with that. So you have a lot of Puerto Ricans who started out, you know, with the B-boying. You know what I'm saying? So you have people breakdancing. You got people doing pop locks. You got people spinning on their heads on cardboard boxes. You know, these people who's dancing, you know, dancing to the beat. You know, these were another important finger in hip hop because, you know, not only you had the MC, you had the DJ who played the music. You know, you had the graffiti tag artists, you know, that will show you, you know, how they express themselves, you know, not verbally, but, you know, from the literature that they would write. You know, this is what they would do. And then the B-boy, of course, dance is like a universal language. You know, everybody can feel dance. There's every culture around this world that, you know, has a dance that holds significance.
That represents their culture.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's what it is. And then the last finger is knowledge. Knowledge is the last finger of hip hop that makes up the hand hip hop. So you got MCing, you got DJing, you got graffiti, you got B-boy, and then you got knowledge.
Okay. Why don't you touch base on the knowledge of hip hop?
Well, you got to know, you know, before you know where you're going, you know, where you're headed, you got to know where you come from. You know what I'm saying? So knowledge is, you know, enlightenment of self, you know, and what's going on around you. Everything that I was saying about everything that's been going on with the other 5 fingers of hip hop, there's knowledge in each one. With a lyricist, we have the knowledge as MCs verbally to pass knowledge on to the next person who hears us. We have a responsibility to the public. We have a responsibility to the public. So me dropping knowledge right now and, you know, on the podcast.
You're educating the public. You're educating the audience that we attract to this podcast. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Exactly. DJing. There's knowledge on DJing. You got to know what kind of, you know, vibe you want to give to the crowd. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta read the crowd. You gotta
read the crowd.
You gotta see like what is gonna get the crowd moving.
Exactly. You know, you gotta fit the, you know, whatever the crowd's feeling at that point. Why do you think in DJs they pick certain times where they'll play, you know, hype music and everything like that? There's certain times of the night play soft music.
Yeah, they read the crowd. They see how they predict how the crowd's gonna act. Like, for instance, you don't want to play like some metal type music in a country crowd.
Right.
Just a little example there.
Unless you can find out the, you know, find a way to bridge the two together.
Yeah. Which I don't know how you would do that. I've never heard of that in my life, but
I'm pretty sure there's people who tried and failed.
I'm sure there's definitely trial and errors out there about it, but
Yeah.
Nothing that really surfaced, because I never heard anything about it surfacing.
I never heard of anything. But you also got, so again with the DJ, the DJ in the game actually can break a artist into the game, you know, by releasing new music to the public. So me spitting knowledge to you right now, let's say you the DJ, it's you're responsible to feel, you know, if you want to, you know, get
to
the
fulfill
crowd
the knowledge to the public is what you're saying.
Exactly. And then when you come to that, they give you the knowledge that I'm spitting to you, so that's also responsibility. And then you also have graffiti.
Now does graffiti like tie into like visuals, like cover art, like okay, that's what I got whenever you said that.
These visuals, because human beings we see, you know, the ones who can see, you know, everything's visual to us. Everything that we see gives us some kind of feeling. So that why do you think when artists come out with album covers, most of them will try to get the most interesting cover to gravitate towards that artist, to identify with that artist and everything. And that's exactly what, you know, graffitis do. It's no different than, you know, somebody writing the Declaration of Independence on a grander rice. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You know, we read, you know, we see these visuals, and not only the visuals of graffiti with the words, but they also do, you know, murals. I was actually fortunate to, when I was in college, they had the hip hop, we had this thing called the hip hop conference, and my African American professor would put these on every year. Okay. And this is where I met the rapper KRS-One, another old school rapper. I also met Dougie Fresh from there. He's, you know, the famous, you know, beatboxer. No, but this is an old school rapper. He was real popular for beatboxing. Like, he can beatbox anything. So, you know, the hip hop conference, I was in an art class. I'm also an artist too. I also draw. Actually, I've been drawing longer before I've been rapping. I've only been rapping since I was 9. I've been drawing since I was 1.
See, I want to get into drawing myself too. Like, something's telling me like I need to get into that this year.
It's dope. It's really dope. It's relaxing. I'll tell you one thing. It is relaxing. You get to express yourself. There's nothing like having a pen or a pencil and a pad and you just go. My father, he's a perfect example for it, because he's an amazing draftsman. Like, this guy paints.
He's a what? He's a draftsman?
He's a draftsman. Yeah, he draws, he paints. My dad, he paints with nail paint polish.
Okay.
And he, you know, now he makes these portraits, like these African portraits and everything. One of my favorite portraits that he did was he had an African woman riding on the back of a zebra.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
It was dope, even though you really can't ride on the back of a zebra because the zebra's back isn't really built for that. But it was interesting.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that, actually. I wouldn't have thought two seconds about it.
Yeah, but that's how it is. But like I said, with graffiti, you know, it's giving us knowledge of visual. We're seeing things. You know, they can be painting a whole picture of, you have a graffiti artist and they have a whole mural. But like I was saying about when I was in college, I was in art class and I was on a mural. We did this hip hop mural, or we put all the legends of the of hip hop, from old school all the way up to you know, people from at that generation around like 2012 or 13. But it was like I was on it, and one of the things that I was, you know, doing was I was actually drawing a gang member spraying graffiti on a wall. Now, there was this young lady who was in art class with me who protested against it because it showed, quote unquote, gang violence. And it's like, I'm not, even though it's a gang member, you can't really neglect, which I'll talk about later, but you can't really neglect that gangster rap wasn't a big part of hip hop. You know, unfortunately it was. I wish I'll get into that later. But gangster rap was a part of hip hop. You can't talk about Snoop Dogg and can't, you know, it ties to gang affiliation. Some was a Crip. You know what I'm saying?
Snoop is a legend. I mean, everybody knows.
Yeah, Snoop is a legend. So it's like you can't really take that out of hip hop, saying because it was negative that you know, it shouldn't be a part of hip hop because it's a big part of hip hop. This is where you get your NWAs. This is where you get your Ice Cubes, your Ice T's. Like, come on,
Yeah,
son.
yeah, for sure.
Ice T plays a cop, and he was in a movie called Colors. Did a song called Colors, which was a gang affiliated thing. So her ignorance. What happened was they ended up taking me off the art project,
Okay.
and they put me on something else. And then
Okay.
when I came back to art class, instead of having a gang member spraying walls doing graffiti, they drew me instead on the
Okay.
mural. And we talking about
That's
a mural
dope.
that yeah, it was dope. It was a big honor. And yeah, so graffiti artists, that's what, like, it paints a picture. And then you have the B-boy, like I said, the B-boy, which is, you know,
The breakdancer?
people, yeah, breakdancer.
Okay.
People could tell movements by, you know, your feelings on your movements.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
body language.
exactly. Have you ever seen the movie Stomp the Yard?
I believe I've definitely seen that a very long time ago.
Okay. In the very beginning, when they're doing the dance battles, and even all throughout the dance battles, they're having dance battles. These is hip hop dance battles. We're used to seeing rap battles and having people insult, you know, verbally. But when you got a person who's insulting you through a dance move, you know,
it's a little bit different when it's
a
a
little
dance.
bit different. And then it even might, you know, at the end of the first dance scene, somebody ended up getting killed over that shit. You know, money situation. Ended up getting killed over this.
Oh, okay, because the winner,
Chris Brown.
Chris Brown won money.
Yeah, they won money. They was winning money, and that's when Chris Brown, you know, he was the one that got popped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but as I digress, that's the 5 fingers, the 5 pillars of hip hop. You absolutely right. And on top of that, because you have the 5 pillars of hip hop, this is what makes hip hop. A lot of artists today probably wouldn't even know the 5 pillars. They could probably only tell you one, which is the most popular, which is, of course, MCing, which, excuse me, people think that rapping is hip hop, which is only just one
it's
part,
a form,
you know,
it's a form of it.
it's 1/5. It's 1/5 of what hip hop is. When I remember when I was telling you that you can find early civilizations that have remnants of hip hop before hip hop even came. Give
like sort of like Egyptians in hieroglyphics.
Yes. That. I'll give you another one. In places in Africa where they have rituals.
Okay.
You'll have one person, and you have a crowd that's in a circle, and they're all dancing, they moving, they chanting, and you got, you know, the main person in the crowd might do a call and response thing, which is, you know, he might say something and the crowd responds back to him.
Like
you
a DJ.
Can find that in hip hop.
Like a DJ.
A DJ, but even an MC. You know, how many times when people, you know, how you say, let me hear you say, oh,
hey,
oh,
yeah, I know what you
scream. Mean. You know, you can find parts like that in indigenous places around the world.
Now, the funny thing is, like, some people even say that's putting the audience under some sort of mind control.
Say what now?
Some people will say, like, how they do that is sort of putting the audience under a trance or some sort of mind control. How do you feel about that?
For a person who say that, I know where they're getting at, but they don't know how to really articulate what they're saying. Music and words move us. They move us. You know, it's no different than if you would go to a funeral and you would hear sad music because there's a funeral. Of course, you would feel some type of feeling towards it.
Yeah, and it matters, like, it matters the frequency of it too. The frequency of music has a lot to do with how it makes you feel, react, etc.
Right, because different types of songs, because of the frequency, like you say, they have a play on your music. You know, they have a play on your feelings. You know, so for somebody to say a trance I know what they're saying. They're just saying the wrong word. It's not trance. That's like brain control. That's like mind control. Music is not kind of trying to control anybody. Anybody who said music is controlling, we have the opportunity to decide what the hell we want to do. Nobody can tell us what to do unless we actually say we're going to do it. So when people say, oh, I listen to gangster rap I listen to 50 Cent all the time. That doesn't make me want to go out and, want to sell drugs. I'm not a drug dealer. 50 was one of the biggest drug dealers in Queens. Just because he's rapped about selling drugs, that was his reality. That's not my reality. So that doesn't mean I have to follow suit. Just because somebody's talking about shoot 'em up, bang, bang, that doesn't mean that you really have to go shoot 'em up, bang, bang. You got to take it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Song. Some people do take like influences off of the trends that are going on in any type of music. You know what I mean? Like hip hop did start a lot of trends with like the designer stuff, the belts, the lean, shit like that.
Well, I'm gonna get to that in a minute because I have a lot to say about that shit. So, like I said about the history of hip hop, you got the 5 pillars. So with that 5 pillars, like I was saying, you'll have places like talking about Aristotle and Plato.
What the hell's that?
Aristotle and Plato was like Socrates. These were ancient Greek mythology people. These were the great thinkers of society at that time. These people would actually go and have debates about, life, politics, science. And what they would have is they would have 2 or 3 different speakers and they would speak to a whole audience. What they had to do is they had to persuade that crowd to persuade them with whatever they thought. That's the same thing what you get in battle rap. You have 2 people up there and they're rhyming to a crowd to persuade to the crowd that they are a better MC than that other person.
To pick who the winner is that gets the prize, the bragging rights, and whatever else they got going on.
Right. So, like I said, hip hop has been all around us, but it had to take all 5, pillars, all 5 forms to make hip hop. Just because you got a finger here and a finger there and a finger here and a finger there, you have fingers all over the damn place. That doesn't make that you actually have a hand. You got to bring those, thumb. You got
to bring the 5 elements into it.
That's what makes hip hop. And anybody who is aspire to be any form of hip hop, whether you want to be a rapper, if you want to be a DJ, you want to be a b-boy, you want to be a graffiti artist, or if it's somebody who just out there want to seek knowledge, this is where you need to come to. There's books out there, there's documentaries. Everybody wants to read a meme and have 60 seconds worth of less than 60 seconds of their mental. They can't focus on anything else other than what is in front of them for 60 seconds. We need to actually start taking it to school. We need to take it to school. We need to learn. We need to study. We need to actually start using our brain. They say we only use 10% of our brains. They've been saying that for the longest. So what percentage of the brain are we using now? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, that's a good question.
So, that's all I got to say about the origin of hip hop. We'll get into the other things. How like the players of hip hop and the different geographical areas, of hip hop, where the East Coast had their style. And even if you had New York, you get all 5 boroughs in New York, and Brooklyn don't sound the same as Queens. Queens don't sound like the Bronx. The Bronx don't sound like Staten. You got crews, you got the Locks. The Locks don't sound like G-Unit. G-Unit don't sound like Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang don't sound like Dipset. Dipset don't sound like Terror Squad.
Because they're all from different areas.
Yeah, they're all from different areas. And even you got, people from, you got people like, let's say, Ja Rule. Ja Rule is from Hollis. He's from the north side of Queens. And then you got 50 Cent, who's from south side Jamaica, Queens. You got Nas, that is from Queensbridge. We also got Mobb Deep. All of these artists that I'm naming are from Queens, but they got different styles to them. Just like you got West Coast. You got the West Coast out there. You got West Coast style, but then you also had the style of Easy-E. You had the style of Snoop Dogg. You had the style of Dr. Dre. You had the style of Daz and Corrupt. You had the style of Nate Dogg. You know.
Yeah. Very well put. Very well put. Absolutely. I'd say this about wraps up the first episode of Hip Hop Talk. Thank you for joining us, Hurricane Cam.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure having you on the show. I hope we educated a lot of people on the 5 pillars of hip hop. And yeah, we'll see you guys next episode.
Yeah, see y'all then.
Later.
1.